Carolina Panthers have one more day of OTAs left before mandatory minicamp. Let's get you caught up with all the headlines.
Brace yourself for the ultimate Carolina Panthers experience. Welcome to Two Growls, One Roar, the podcast that hits harder than a Luke Kuechly tackle. We're diving deep into the heart of Panther Nation, bringing you unrivaled passion, insider takes, and pure gridiron fire. From Wilmington to the cosmos, this is your home for the fiercest football talk east or west of Charlotte.
Welcome in, folks, to another edition of the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. If you are a Carolina Panthers fan, or maybe you're not and you're just here to content, I would appreciate it if you guys do hit that subscribe button. So we are in the final days, and to be honest, the final practice for the Carolina Panthers in OTAs. Remember, this is voluntary. A few notable things coming out of this with some injury updates, an update on the center position battle that's happening between Austin Corbett and Cade Mays, maybe a nod in one direction as the early leader in the clubhouse did. So we'll get into that. The final OTA practice is going to be on June the 5th. As I look at my calendar, that is on Thursday. Then they'll have a break of a few days, come back next week for mandatory minicamp, and then we won't really hear anything from those guys until we get into training camp about a month and a half out, so about 45 days. But folks, this means that football is right around the corner, man. It is here. Football's here. Once you get into the phase of mandatory minicamp, we're getting into summer. It does slow down as far as the news cycle. Next thing you know, though, you turn on the TV and you got some preseason games coming on. We get to see a little more live action. So, yeah, we're excited about this. Like I said, today we're going to get you caught up with all the news. Now, one of the biggest pieces of news, and we got this directly from Panthers.com, is the battle, the competition that's going on. We know about the position battles within the groups, but there's a battle between offense and defense. There's a point system that's in place, and they're using this to have games within practice, not just so, not to make the guys go through normal drills, which they do, but also to add some flair to it. And I got to tell you, as a competitive person myself, if you throw on a point system and numbers and you add these things up to win, it does make things fun. It does, and it adds a level of competitiveness, which, like in the state that you're in now, where there's not a lot of true football happening with pads on, you're just kind of going on air in drills, some 1-on-1, some 7-on-7, some 11-on-11 light. Of course, you're not really tackling or taking anyone to the ground. But here we go. So the competitive drills feature a unique scoring system. Got some notes here. Crafted to simulate game-like situations and reward specific outcomes for offense and defense. Offensive unit earns a point for any run gaining 4 yards or more, or for a successfully completed pass. A touchdown was valued or is valued at 3 points, and then a defensive unit score or gets a point for stopping a run short of 4 yards or forcing an incomplete pass. An interception is weighted at 2 points. As of today in this practice, you did have the defense winning 8-7. And we actually know about this. This was something that Canales and company, they did this last year. They had this competition. Now, we didn't have as much insight into exactly what is going on, but we knew across the board that, like, hey, Canales loves to do this. Tuesday, like we said, it was an 8-7 victory for the defense. Fiercely contested, as it's been reported. And, like, guys, we got to see a bunch of plays and highlights per the usual, all through social media, all through the media that was actually there outside of Panthers.com. So the decisive play unfolded when second-year defensive back Shemar Bartholomew made an exceptional read on a play. I guess he had an interception on Andy Dalton, and that was what wrapped it up and got them over the top. It would have been a pick six. So that's they get the points there. Coach Canales articulated the rationale behind these competitive drills, emphasizing the mere presence of a scoreboard immediately elevating the energy engagement that you get with these guys. He said he and general manager Dan Morgan have consistently championed competition across all facets of the team, from position battles to daily practices, just like we talked about. Like, this is the type of culture you want to build here and go on from that. Outside linebacker, Patrick Jones II, a recent acquisition for the Vikings, you know about, has observed the competition energy within the team, stating that when the entire team celebrates together, that's just the beginning of building something very special. It is, man. You get these guys rallying around each other, not fighting. Like, we don't need a Cam Newton, Josh Norman situation here. Just let it play out, and we get some competitive football and improved defense, as we keep talking about, in an offense that's going to maintain, possibly be even better. So the game within practice by Coach Canales, completed with a detailed scoring system. Like, it's big. I like it. Some psychological pieces to this, of course, the high energy, competitive environment, and, you know, going through each of the drills. It just adds a layer and, you know, forces guys to kind of put their best foot forward. So on today, June 3rd, as I record this, did get some updates on a few guys on the team. First round, Tetairoa McMillan, and I also got to hear from the voice of the Arizona Wildcats on the Kyle Bailey Club show today. I hope you guys had a chance to go and listen to that. If not, go out, check out the podcast. Lots of good things in reference to Tetairoa McMillan, his playmaking ability as a wide receiver at the University of Arizona. But Canales highlighted his receptiveness to coaching, noting his increasing comfort with the team system, various play types, and different formations. Again, there's something about McMillan, and it's not a knock on Xavier at all, but there's just something clearly different about McMillan and his style of play and his game, and I think it's just going to unlock quite a few things. And we've seen the clips of him working to the side with wide receiver coach Moore, taking that coaching, working on his releases, all those small things put together. I mean, I think it's an indicator, as Canales observed, that McMillan is playing fast, and, you know, it's his comprehension of the system. It's a lot. When you think about his development, it's positive. One of the things that was mentioned is the benefit of some of the seasoned veterans around him: Adam Thielen, Hunter Renfrow, guys that have been there and done that, helping to guide him along. And then you also have, of course, Xavier Legette working closely alongside of him as well. He actually said, speaking of McMillan, expresses gratitude for this collaborative environment, describing it as a diverse room. He stated, "I'm all ears when they speak. Just being able to find out whatever makes them great, find out whatever we can, makes me better and makes me succeed at this level." He lauded the humility within the group, emphasizing a collective mindset. If one person wins, we all win. The acceleration of Tetairoa McMillan into what likely should be this number 1X receiver that can truly open up this offense is going to be something special. And I talked about this over the past few days as we've gotten into OTAs and we talked about a wide receiver battle. Having this type of playmaker, like, it's been since DJ Moore. That's the last time we had a player of this caliber, and it's way too early, but I do think looking at Tetairoa McMillan, there's just something a little bit different about him where I think he could even be better than DJ Moore. He could potentially try to break the rookie receiving record for the Carolina Panthers. Like, that's a possibility. Eclipse over 1,000 yards, a little over 1,000 yards, held by Kelvin Benjamin. So I think that's on the table. Now, as we go through the list of wide receivers, we got news that Jalen Coker was back at practice. On the contrary, we have another rookie now in Jimmy Horn Jr., 6th-round pick that was absent from Tuesday's OTAs due to a hamstring injury. So Coach Canales confirmed that the team is managing his hamstring and he's going through rehabilitation and that return to play as soon as we feel like he's ready. it's early. I'm not going to get too concerned, but soft tissue, you don't like those hamstrings, pulling things, especially, those things take a while to recover. But hey, it's June, plenty of time to recover in time for training camp, and it's no reason to push it now. You know what you're going to get out of him. I think when you talk about roster spots and getting there, of course, we want Jimmy Horn Jr. on the field. We want him practicing. We want to see him in order to have him a good chance for him to make the cut. I think he is, no doubt about it. But as we start getting toward that end with David Moore in the mix, Hunter Renfrow potentially, which I think he's a little safer than folks might imagine, but it just slows down growth a little bit. But I think in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be okay. However, friends at the Charlotte Observer noted that the defensive backs as a collective unit delivered a strong day during OTAs. Canales specifically addressed the strengths of the team's newest outside linebacker, Patrick Jones II. I think this continues to point to the direction that possibly Patrick Jones II may be the leader in the outside linebacker room, at least right now, with DJ Wonnum, Nick Scorton potentially fighting for that second position to start. So there you have it. So the only other notable news, and I know there was a few guys missing, but in general, Carolina Panthers have had significant turnout so far at OTAs. It's looked good from all the things that have been reported. The energy's there. Dave Canales has even emphasized the fact that a lot of guys have been out there. Coming up, it's right around the corner. As I mentioned at the start of this episode, we got one more OTA practice, and we have mandatory minicamp and a big break. Possible transactions can happen in between then. One of the last things I'll mention, as I stated, is the early competition at the center position. Right now, what we've heard is that Cade Mays is getting the reps with the ones. Austin Corbett is taking it on with the second team. It's early. I'm not going to get to read into it too much, but I personally view this as Cade Mays' opportunity to be the starter for the Carolina Panthers next year. He's a little bit younger, hasn't really had as many injuries nearly as Austin Corbett over these last 3 years. So to me, it feels like an opportunity for Mays to step up. And again, these guys are on favorable contract tracks. So whoever is out there, to be honest, we'll be fine. So anyways, folks, short and sweet-ish episode for today. You know where to go to get all your Carolina Panthers content. As always, this is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.